to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some people have to say.
Several years ago, I was developing a very severe situation. I called it my flippy heart. It was doing not good things, and I did not want to go to a medical doctor because I just knew they would give me a cover-up pill. I didn't want to get onto that sort of thing at all. When I learned it was garlic and cayenne, and cayenne is a healer. It is a wonderful herb. I said, I think I'm onto something here. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be without it. It did wonderful things for me.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendivite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Okay. Hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're live.
Hey, aloha. Glad to talk to everybody. This is the Stargate to the Cosmos with your host, me, Sasha Lessin. Hey, there's an echo in this thing. I can't. Oh, there. Anyway, our guest today is Kenneth Pfeifer, and he's the state director for MUFON in Vermont and Rhode Island. And he's done all kinds of great investigations. I'm really interested in the stuff that you found on Mars. What we like to do to start the show is just say how you got into all this stuff in the first place, and what it is that you found that's interesting to us. Are you there, man?
I hadn't gotten him yet. I'm getting him now.
Okay.
So we've had some technical problems at the station I was dealing with, and I didn't see y'all come online. I didn't think you were there. All right, I'm calling him now. So.
Cool.
And then y'all had some technical problems too, apparently.
Yeah, we sure did. So just think about Mars. We're going to learn stuff about Mars.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, Ken, we got you.
Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Excellent. I don't know if you heard the first part, but we like to start out with everybody just sort of saying how'd you get into all this stuff about UFOs and ultimately become the director of MUFON for a couple of states, and what did you find on Mars?
Well, I've found a lot of crazy things on Mars. Quite frankly, Mars looks like, to me, it reminds me of a dried up coral reef. You know, a lot of the area on Mars, there's just some strange spidery looking things and skeletons and all kind of crazy things. I've been researching them photos for many years, and I've only I'm only at the tip of the iceberg on researching them, but I found a lot of stuff on Mars and the Moon, and even Saturn. I found a few things on Saturn, but it's just well, I got into it. I saw my first UFO. I'm going to call it an alien craft. I'm not even going to call it a UFO until everybody's intelligence. But I was in 1974. I had my first sighting. I've always been interested in planes and the stars and everything else because I was basically born and raised in a little town called National Park, New Jersey, which is right on the Delaware across from the Philadelphia Naval Yard and the Philadelphia International Airport. So, I've been accustomed to things in the sky, planes flying, and with my father being a combat veteran in World War II, I'm accustomed to the military and the jets, and I just got the bug for it, and basically I retired in 2000 at 50 years old, and I wanted to do something special. I needed a hobby to do, so around 2005 I contacted MUFON, took the test, became an investigator for George Pfeifer. Now George is he's the Eastern Director and also the State Director for New Jersey, and the rest is history. Basically, it's been very interesting.
Wow. We've heard all kinds of things about the difference between looking at Mars directly and looking at the funny pictures that NASA puts out, which are sometimes paint-overs and sometimes all kinds of strange things. Could you help us with that a little bit?
Of course. Yeah, I've been, like I said, I've been doing a lot of research with that. The hardest part is it seems that NASA has 100 different websites, and there's been times where the secret is trying to find the website that has the great photos. And that's easier said than done. And sometimes when you find that website that has the great high definition photos that you can enlarge, you can basically zoom in to 4 or 5 feet from the surface and see some clear images. You go back to that website a few weeks later or a few months later, and it's gone. You can't get to these images anymore. So it's all. Make a long story short, all the information is there, but trying to find it is the hard part. It's very hard to find that one website where you can see these clear photos, and it takes a couple hours just to go over one photo. But it's a lot of fun. I feel like a discoverer. I'm probably seeing a lot of these things no one has ever seen, and it's a driving force that makes me do it.
So, is there any clear evidence for a place where there's water on the surface by a cave entrance somewhere? And I keep seeing this on the internet. Is that a hoax or is it real?
No, I think that's possible. I really haven't gotten into that portion of delving into Mars and what's really there, but no, I'm sure that there is, and I'm sure there probably once was water there at one time. What a lot of people don't realize is this Earth I believe it's 4 billion years old, and a lot of things have happened in the last 4 billion years. There's a possibility that Mars a few billion years ago was possibly habitable, and there were people on Mars, aliens. I don't know what they were, but and it's just incredible how people think that it's like right now our civilization. I feel that there have been thousands upon thousands of civilizations that were on this earth that have come and gone. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, we're still digging up, past civilizations that were only 5 or maybe possibly 10,000 years old. But, when is it going to be our time to expire? Because in a million years from now, even in 1,000 years from now, we're probably not going to be here. This could be a wasteland for all we know. Are you still there?
Hi, sorry, we were shifting computers here.
No problem.
his phone up, running on Skype. So, hi, Ken. Sorry I'm late. We had a little bit of technical difficulties here with our computers and switched to our Skype on our cell phone. So,
as a matter of fact, before you continue, we're getting some really severe thunderstorms here in the area. So if I get cut off, you know that my electricity's down, my computer's down, and you know, I don't know what we'll go do from there, but we'll just take it as it comes, I guess.
Hey, where are you?
What part of the world
what
are you
is
in?
your area? Where are you?
I'm in South Jersey. I'm down towards Glassboro Island. I'm about. As a matter of fact, I was in Cape May today. This morning, me and my wife went to Cape May for get a sandwich. But no, I'm real far south in New Jersey. So it's a very rural. A lot of horse farms and cows and everything else down here, and not much light pollution, so we can see the stars fairly well from this area.
Oh, that's great. I'm from Pittsburgh originally.
Okay, I'm a Steelers fan myself.
Oh, cool. I haven't been there since 1993. I moved to Hawaii in 93.
Oh, my God bless you.
So we're having strange weather. Do you think your weather is not is atypical, or is it? What's going on over there on the East Coast? Is it normal?
I don't know. It's we're getting a lot of tornadoes. We never get tornadoes in New Jersey. The last tornado I remember was back in 66, I believe, 65, 66. We had a small tornado go through our backyard and ripped off the roof of a tomato factory in a school, but other than that, we've been getting a lot of even in New Jersey here. We've had a couple small ones touch down, and quite frankly, I don't know what's going on. I really believe that the Earth is getting warmer, and I think that's just stirring up a lot of this bad weather.
Yes, it's really hot in Maui. Normally it's very nice, but it's been hot here.
Yeah.
So I think something is changing. I don't get bogged down with the semantics. It's like, yeah, this stuff is changing. It's not like we've had it. I'm 65 years old. So you can, you know, it's not like it used to be. So we're on, I missed part of the conversation. So you were talking about, so tell us a little bit more about yourself and your research that you do for MUFON. So you're the state director in Vermont and Rhode Island. And you're
yes, I'm also the assistant state director in New Jersey. I work for George Fowler. Of course, George Fowler, he's an icon in the UFO community. He's been around forever.
Yes.
And I've kind of worked my way up the ranks here, and they made me state director of Vermont and Rhode Island a few years back, and everything's been working out well. We've been getting sightings. I would say that MUFON itself probably gets about 30 sightings a day. But the crazy part about that is, I think there's close to 30,000 sightings a day. Not everyone knows who to report these things to, and not everyone has the cell phones or the computers, or a lot of these third world countries, they don't have the electronics. They don't know, they don't have the means to report these things, and I think there's thousands upon thousands every day that people are seeing some strange things in the sky, but a very, very small percentage ever gets reported.
I agree, and I look at my own life and all the times I've had sightings and encounters, and I didn't run to MUFON every time I saw anything. I only went one time back in the late 80s, and so I've seen so much since then. So we're not getting an accurate counting of what's going on. What do you think about the latest revelation?
The airline pilots don't want to say anything because it makes them do all this paperwork.
Well, they're starting to come out of the closet. Most of the airline pilots that are now retired just don't give a damn anymore. Mm-hmm. And they are reporting a lot of things. And quite frankly, if we were to take all these UFO sightings and throw them out the window, the military alone has thousands upon thousands of documented in triplicate, as they say, of these and photos and videos of these alien craft in the sky.
So what do you think is going on? Do you think this is one faction of the government, like the secret space program, isn't telling the regular military what's going on? Or do we have inner earthers that are coming up? Do we have intergalactic, interstellar, interdimensional. Just because what you know and all the cases you've looked at, what's your general consensus about what is going on this planet?
Well, essentially, I feel that the governments don't want us to know what's really going on because, quite frankly, just in the United States alone, we got roughly about 330 million people in the United States. Now, I would say 1% are true believers of alien craft, and that's only 3.3 million people that I feel are true believers. And even if 1 million people or 100 million people are on the fence about UFOs, that leaves 200 million people that don't believe in these things. And personally, I hope there is not disclosure. I hope we never have disclosure when I'm alive, because I think it will ruin everything. I think the stock markets will crash. I think religions will be in turmoil, and quite frankly, these 2 million people who don't believe in aliens flying around in our skies, they'll be jumping out of windows.
I don't think that will happen.
I don't know. There's a lot of people like I tell people, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm retired, but I investigate UFOs, and they look at me cross-eyed, like, it's really strange that even MUFON, you mentioned MUFON to people, even though MUFON's been in existence since '69 after Project Blue Book closed up. MUFON basically took over as another organization, but they eventually changed their name to MUFON a few years later. No one knows who MUFON is. I say I work for MUFON, and well, who's that? So, like I said, a lot of people just don't know who to report these UFOs to, because after Project Blue Book, the government basically decided that they wanted to end Project Blue Book. That was the military was supposed to be investigating all of these so-called UFO sightings, and they wanted to downplay it to the point where they canceled Project Blue Book because they wanted people to feel that there was nothing to it.
Right.
But I know that they wanted the government wanted people who saw UFOs to start reporting them to UFO organizations. They kind of washed their hands to it, but then again, the government, they never stopped investigating, these UFOs and alien craft. Like I said, they got thousands of videos and photos and encounters with these alien beings, and they just don't, they don't want the public to know about it.
Well, we have science fiction, which has been preparing us, since like the day the Earth stood still, 1951 version.
Oh, that was a great movie.
That was a great. So I think we have 60, 70 years of movies that are gearing us towards, yes, we're not the only life in the universe, right?
But then again, not everybody watches them movies. If you're not a UFO buff or you don't believe in that stuff, you're not going to watch a UFO movie. I don't care if it's Aliens, which was a tremendous movie. Contact was another. Of course, the Data's Earth Stood Still. I can name off 20 of them, and even my friends, I tell them, hey, did you see the new UFO movie out? Whatever, and they said, no, no, we're not going to see it. So I don't think a lot of people actually look. People who don't believe, I don't think they watch them.
But let's really take a look at that. Let's say that.
Let's speak into the mic, honey.
Let's say that it's accurate, huh? It's accurate.
You're muffled.
I see.
Okay, I can hear you now. Okay.
Go ahead.
Let's say that it's so for the moment that religious and political institutions and the stock market will crash. That may not necessarily be an unmitigated evil. It might actually make room for something better for the human population,
Well, that's true. If the government handles it the right way, then, who's to say that these aliens, entities out there, that they don't, they should have a cure for this and a cure for cancer and, to be able to help us out, with our technology and everything else. And that's true. That's looking at things through, rose-colored glasses, I guess. I mean, that's possible that could happen, but quite frankly, I don't think it would happen like that. The people are so weird that I don't think that would happen. I think would be the worst thing that could ever happen would be disclosure.
I think that disclosure would be like the perturbation, which might have chaos for a while, but we would reorder at a higher level. Because right now we have chaos with all the negative things that are happening.
Oh yeah, well that's true. Now it would take years for. Now the neatest part about all this is I don't know if you guys are aware, but the New York Times, they finally printed an article. They interviewed some Navy pilots about some alien crafts that they were flying. They were, flying around trying to chase in the sky. I mean that's a big deal for the New York Times to even approach that. Of course, I didn't see it on TV, and I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but all of our major television networks, they have been approached by the government to tell them to downplay the UFO thing.
Right. So the New York Times brought out that information. So there's like soft disclosure. I'm not saying that they had a alien come into the White House, but they are saying that they're having some kind of strange contact. They're saying that it's not theirs, right? They're not acknowledging there might be a secret aspect of it. They're just saying that the regular military doesn't know what it is, and so they're labeling it, unknown. So I think that's progress. I just see I'm at a different part of the world, and the people here are open-minded. So I guess East Coast are pretty closed-minded, but we have large areas of the world that are open-minded, and even larger areas that are not. But I don't think it's going to be that devastating. But anyway, I think it's going to happen. I think it's inevitable. It's going to happen.
Yeah, well, it is inevitable. But quite frankly, I can't see. I think the president and a lot of politicians they want to stay far away from this. I cannot imagine President Trump coming on TV and saying, "Hey, guess what, guys? There's been aliens flying around in our skies for the last 100 years." The only problem with that would be there'd be too many questions to answer. People would be saying, "Oh my God, you've been lying to us for 100 years. What else are you lying about?" There would be too many negative aspects about disclosure that would really upset the people, I feel.
Right. Sash.
Well, just the thought was that if he told the truth, everybody would expect it to be a lie. And that would be a clever way to present it.
You're right there. Well, no matter what, I don't know what your political views are. Now, don't get me started on that, but no matter what does. If President Trump walked on the water, people would say that, it's because he can't swim. So it's, I feel bad for the poor guy myself, but that's another story, and, that's another issue. But, like I said, I hope disclosure doesn't happen while I'm alive. I'm 68, so I might be kicking the bucket in another 10 years or so. But I just think it would be. I don't think people need it.
So you're saying that if there was disclosure, that the world would fall apart. Would that be the worst thing?
Yep. I know the United States would fall apart.
Well, the whole world would get this disclosure. If the United States got it, the whole world would.
Oh, of course. Oh, yeah.
Well,
so the whole world gets disclosure. Go ahead, Sasha.
Well, one of the stories that I got, from my sources is that Roosevelt at one point wanted to disclose and before about contact that he had directly with extraterrestrials, and he was advised, "Hey, let's not be hasty. We'll do this dramatization," and they staged this thing with Orson Welles narrating H.G. Wells' story of the invasion in New Jersey and parts of New York, and they made it sounded so real that indeed there was people committing suicide and getting their guns out to fight the aliens and so forth. And this got back to the president, and he said, "Well, by all means, we got to keep this secret." But it was staged for Roosevelt. I never saw a lot of animals, until I went to the zoo, and I didn't freak out when I saw my first rhinoceros.
Yeah, well, that was War of the Worlds. Yeah, you're right. That was, as a matter of fact, it was supposed to have taken place in a small town in New Jersey, is where that all originated from. But that shook up a lot of people, even though they came on the radio many times and told the public that that this is a stage play, a reenactment, blah blah blah. Basically telling everybody that this is fake. And people at that point, they just either didn't hear it or didn't want to believe it or whatever, but it caused a panic.
Wow. We had something just like that in Hawaii when the CIA launched their missile from off the coast of North Korea so that the president could retaliate and wipe out North Korea. So the story went in conspiracy circles. And so it was in the same thing, but people didn't panic here. Missiles coming. Hey, we're going to die. Hey, pass it.
Well, I don't know. That's really, people must be a lot different in Hawaii than they are here in the States, I guess. But I've never been to Hawaii. I'm afraid to go there because I'll probably stay. So, I'm comfortable here in South Jersey. I'm well off, doing pretty good. So. But even my wife, she had a incredible sighting a couple of years ago in Woodstown, New Jersey. She was, as a matter of fact, she was coming home from her hairdresser's, and it's about 9:00 at night, and coming down Route 40, which is a major road for trucks, and it's very busy usually. But 9:00 at night wasn't too bad, and she just came out of Woodstown, New Jersey, and coming up to the top of a small hill there and on Route 40, and damn if she didn't see looked like a chevron. She couldn't tell whether it was a triangle or not because it was too dark out, but she pulled over to the side of the road, and this was a close encounter. It was hovering over somebody's house, which was approximately maybe about 200 or 300 feet away, and this thing was just sitting there. It had rectangular lights on it that basically outlined a portion of the chevron type of an object, and she sat there for a couple of minutes, no noise. She rolled down her window, and she was just in shock looking at this thing. Of course, she didn't have her cell phone. Her cell phone camera with her, or she didn't think about taking any photos, but since it was very busy on Route 40 there with trucks and stuff, she decided to, she better get going. And, that was an incredible. The funny part is she didn't tell me about the sighting until the next day. So it just goes to show how these things affect people. I don't know if she forgot about it or I thought she was in shock or something or whatever. But, it's really strange how these things affect people.
Was there missing time involved in this?
Oh no, I checked that out. I questioned her pretty good, and no, she didn't have any missing time or anything, and that's the first thing I thought of. But no, I've been involved in quite a few abduction cases. We've had hypnosis sessions, and these people are really they're true to what they saw in these hypnosis sessions. But quite frankly, I have a lot of people, I even basically ask my investigators, I control about a half dozen investigators in New Jersey, and I basically, we do have a gentleman in North Jersey, he's a chief of police, and he's a licensed hypnotist, and I usually send my alien abduction cases to him, so, he usually asks the witness whether they would like to be hypnotized or not. But I kind of tell my people to it's not worth it to me because God forbid if someone would come out of a hypnosis session and an hour later or a day later they kill themselves because they're reliving a horrible experience that happened to them, and I wouldn't there'd be too much red tape involved in that deal. I tell them, I basically tell people to shy away from getting hypnotized. Are you still there?
What happened?
Sorry, I'm muted. I was muted. I'm talking away and I'm muted. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
So no, I was saying that Dr. Lessin and I both do hypnosis with people, and we know how to help them work through it and reintegrate and process and get stabilized and centered. But you do have to know somebody knows what they're doing, because I don't know if that would necessarily spark people to go out and kill themselves. But when they go into their trauma, they may have to reintegrate it. Although a lot of people are not traumatized. They find it, it's a curiosity, or they have other emotions. It's not all trauma. So we don't.
Yeah, but just one person out of 100 being traumatized and possibly, thinking about killing themselves or killing themselves. It's not worth it. The risk is not worth the reward to me anyway. But that's another story.
Well, yeah, that's why we always have somebody to go to somebody that's a professional.
Yeah,
they know how to handle it. It's not something you want to just start doing. What do you say? What do you say about that, Sasha?
I think that yes. Can you hear me, Janet?
Yes, you're just muffled. But
I can hear you. Yeah.
Go ahead.
What in a proper hypnotist conducted session, you have safeguards so that the person's dominant subpersonality interrupts and doesn't let them go to a point where they're destabilized, and you just build it right into to the suggestions you give. And so first you ask the person, say intellect, if he or she gets into some place that's more than he or she can handle, and I want you to interrupt and not let them go any further. Is that okay with you, intellect? And the person's intellect says, okay, that's a deal. Okay, and you just say, hey, I don't want to go there. Okay, Bill.
Oh yeah.
So you start.
Well, that's good. I'm glad they have them safeguards, for hypnosis, and that's good news. I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize that. So that's good to know.
That's absolutely you see, you can't go more than the person's protective selves will allow them to go. Because you've got an ecology, other people that you have to consider your whole lifetime, and you need to take that into consideration in choosing stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. I believe that. That's for sure.
And then what happens with a really a good hypnotist, and let's say the person says, "Look, I'm ready to experience whatever it is," and so again, you have them go through it. And see, a good hypnotist is not going after data. We don't give a damn about your investigation. All we care about is the mental health of the person before us. And it doesn't matter if we're not going to find out details. If the person says, that's enough for me, that's enough for me. It's really important that the focus is the person's health rather than data.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm like I said, I'm glad they have safeguards on that stuff. That's for sure.
Okay.
I wanted to. You were talking about Mars. I usually review a lot of my Mars photos. It's on Gigapan, gigapan.com. If you go to Giga, it's GIGAPAN .com, gigapan.com. Go there and you can plug in the Mars SOL numbers, which basically means the day that these photos were taken. So if you were to go in there and plug in SOL 1246, a photo will come up, a high definition photo will come up, and then all I have to do is click on this photo. Oh. And with my computer system here, I can click on it until I can get down to the surface, and then that's how I basically look at Mars, and you'd be surprised on how close you can get to Mars in order to see some of the strange things that's on there.
How does the things you see? How do the things you see compare with the things that NASA is showing of the same site in its more public parts? My friend Brett Shepard keeps seeing NASA does some strange things like putting Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck kind of crap over some of the parts. Did you find anything like that?
No, I haven't. But then again, that's how they debunk. That's how they make a joke out of this stuff, and that's how people say, oh, you know, this is stupid. I'm not going to bother looking at these stupid photos anymore because it's all crap. You know, this is how they steer people away from doing really great research. Quite frankly, I think I'm the only one in the world who are researching these photos of Mars. I really do. You know, there's a couple out there that sometimes they pop up on YouTube's or you might see it on a website, but very, very few. And I've at this point I got a few hundred images that I feel are very strange stuff. That it couldn't be a natural formation. It couldn't be a natural rock or you know, like I said, a lot of Mars to me looks like a big junkyard of you know, shapes and poles and all kind of things that it reminds me of a dead coral reef. You know, of course it's not underwater, but of course there probably was water there at one time. And there's a possibility I could be looking at dead coral reefs that have been all dried up and sitting there for a million years.
You said bodies. You saw bodies.
No, skeletons. I've got some skeletons. I don't know what the skeletons are of. I mean, there's not human. I haven't seen any, you know, human skeletons, but there's some skeletons of some strange things on Mars. That's for sure. I mean, you know.
Do you have them on your website? Is there something I can look at?
My other website is Ken Pfeifer, KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com. I have ton of stuff on that website, you know, KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com, and I have the moon and Mars and another subject that I really don't want to get into because I've been ridiculed about it too much is, quite frankly, I don't think we went to Mars I don't think we went to the moon in 1969.
I do too.
Okay.
I agree.
And I have a lot of evidence, a lot of great stuff on my website there. I even have a gallery that says, did we really go to the moon in 1969? So there's a lot of things on there that I've researched and found myself, and that proves to me that they never went in 69. You know, they didn't have the technology to do it. Now, I'm not saying they haven't went there today. I mean, we should hopefully have the technology for you know, us to go to the moon. They're talking about going to Mars, and quite frankly, I think that's a lot of crap. Sending the moon to the Mars, I think that's just another way of the government to rip off the government and the people for trillions upon trillions of dollars about sending people to Mars. I think it's a lot of bunk.
So what? So let's get back to the moon thing. So your theory is that we didn't go. So what were they doing with all that money? What were they doing with all those ships? Were they firing them off, or was that just a?
Well, again, that's the manufacturers had to make these things. The manufacturers, you know, have to. And I'm not saying the manufacturers were in on it. It would have been very easy to fake it. And a lot of people say, well, you know, we didn't have the film technology. And I say to them, did you ever see The Wizard of Oz, which was made in 1939, I think?
Yeah.
You know, we had the technology back in 39 to do it, and you're telling me it's you know, I'd laugh. You know, I laugh at them. But basically, you know, I feel that everyone in NASA, thousands upon thousands of people who made these things, who made the suits, who made the rockets, who made the technology, who made the gauges and everything else, you know, they didn't know what was going on. But guess what? Someone was making money.
Right. They always make money.
You know, and all they really needed was a dozen people on the inside. All the men and women sitting there at their terminals down at Houston, the Space Center there. You know, it would have been very easy to put a feed in monitors showing these guys walking on the moon or stepping off the ladder onto the moon. I mean, it's so simple. It's stupid.
Do you think Stanley Kubrick made all those films for Hollywood?
Well, yeah, I've heard that theory too, and I really don't know. I mean, there's a good possibility. I mean, that rumor's flying around, and you know, quite frankly, he probably had the technology. But then again, you look at these movies of the guys, you know, they laying on the moon, but they're so grainy and so. You know, if they did fake it, maybe they purposely did that, you know, just to make it look real. You know, I mean, these photos are coming from the moon, and you know, how could you expect a Technicolor photo of the astronaut on the moon? And you know, a lot of these photos were videos and everything else was so grainy. My God, you couldn't. It was very hard to tell what was going on. And then the surface of the moon was like a powder. It was like talcum powder. And with this rocket landing, first of all, there's a humongous rocket on this lander that's coming down very slowly down to the Earth, down to the moon. Mm-hmm. But that would be so loud. You don't even hear that. It's very, very faint. You hear something that, you know, when the astronauts are saying, oh, you know, 2 feet, 1 foot, you know, we've landed on the moon, blah, blah, blah. These rockets would have been so loud, and the dust created, this talcum powder dust on the moon, would have been in the air for hours. And there was none. There was no dust on the landers. On the landing pads, there was no dust. There was no dust, and that's just one example of you know, things that I've researched and I believe. You know, I didn't research it. You know, this has been researched by people who in the know, who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Sergeant Major Robert O'Dean showed us films showing they were. Of strip mining with a great big conveyor belt and trucks taking something or other from place to place. And
there's also photos that I have on my website, KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com, that shows it's identical photos, and the Lumlander's there in one photo, and the Lumlander's is not there in the next. You know, it's like they were moving this Lumlander around by a crane. You know, even the rover. I have photos on my website, and of course, these photos you can get them on the computer. You can get them on the web. There's no tracks. The rover's not leaving any tracks in this dusty ground. It's like they moved this rover from spot to spot with you know. I don't know how they did it, and then there's so many photos. I could talk about this for hours, but you know, I get a lot of ridicule for it, but I really don't care.
If there's no tracks,
fine. No,
and there's no dust all over and the rover would be covered with crap.
Yeah.
So I'm on your site. Where do I find that? That rover pictures that you're saying they got.
Yeah, KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com.
I'm on that right now. Where do I go?
There should be a gallery there that says, did we really go to the moon?
Okay.
You'll have to click around there, you know, just kind of click around and get familiar with it.
Okay, there we go. I'm inviting you to go to KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com and click on the gallery. Yeah. Okay, here we go. There's that picture with the visor.
Oh yeah, that's
a very nice site.
That picture tells it all, and that photo has been on TV a million times. And who took the photo? Who took the picture? Because it shows there was only 2 guys on the moon.
Right.
And you have to, you know, it's kind of, you got to wrap your mind around it. You got to look in the visor, and there's someone there. It's not even dressed up in a moon outfit. It looks like he just has clothes on. It's a shadow of him. And who is that person?
Well,
because there's a reflection in his visor of another astronaut in the distance, and it's mind-boggling.
Well, this is there's a picture with the guy in the visor, and he would have to have his hands up taking a picture. but his hands are now loose on his side. So who's taking the picture of the astronaut with the astronaut in the visor?
Yeah.
There were only two of them. So that doesn't make sense. You're right.
It's and the people fell for it, but quite frankly, I hope we went. I hope I'm wrong. I hope all these people are wrong. I don't want to think that our government lied to us about the moon landing, but quite frankly, money was there to be made. Trillions of dollars was made, different manufacturers who wasn't getting kickbacks on this and that. I mean, you could take us to the next level if you want to. It's just, you have to go through there. And I've found that there's a lot of duplicate images that I have found myself, things that you can see where, and I think the theory is that these photos were taken on Earth, and a lot of these photos of the things on the ground were covered. They were pasted over with a duplicate of something else, which is telling me that there's a possibility that people who are geologists or people who knew, what stones are and what they look like, and I think they're trying to hide things that people would have found to be, it's impossible for that to be on the moon.
Yeah, that's right. I was wondering if you could even do this with your cameras. If you could attach a LiDAR camera to those images where you get down, you could find out what's underneath the surface with the cameras devices you're using. I just see such potential in what you're doing.
Yeah, it's and there's tons of information there. Stuff that this is stuff that I've found on the internet. You do your research, and the more I research into it, there's even there's a show on television right now where did the astronauts did we land on the moon? Blah blah blah. It's in its third or fourth episode. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but check it out.
What's it called?
I think did we go to the moon or something? It's on. It may be on the History Channel, the Discovery Channel. Just search it on your TV, I guess. But basically, they have a debunker there, and the debunker is an astronaut. He's an astronaut that's been in the space shuttle, and he's flew around the Earth a few times, and he's one of the guys. And then we have a guy who actually claims that we did not go to the moon, and you can see how this show is being manipulated in a way that they're going to try to show the people that yes, we did go to the moon. So yeah, I think even the debunker is included in this, and they're twisting this stuff around. Bad research. Even the LEM lander, they have the astronaut. He couldn't even control the LEM lander. They have. I've seen on TV many times. You can see it on the web where he crashes the LEM lander, almost dies himself. I don't know if it was one of the astronauts who landed. And then they show another video of the LEM lander, and all they're showing is an image. They're showing an image of the LEM lander kind of hovering over a concrete floor. What that is, and then they said, well, as you can see, it was easy to control, blah blah blah. But what they didn't say is this LEM lander was hovering. It was tethered in a hangar. And that's how they first had to test this LEM lander, is they tethered it. They weren't going to put a guy in there and, say, hey, fly this away. It doesn't work that way. They tethered this in a hangar to try to, that was their first lesson on how to fly this thing, and that's what they showed on TV. And that kind of debunked the whole part about, that the LEM lander couldn't be flown. So there's a lot of things on this TV show that they're trying to steer the people. They're trying to steer the people like myself who thinks we never went to the moon. They're trying to change our mind, and I could see what they're doing.
There's another set, like Mike Barrow said, We were here way before these people were there, and he's even shows some picture in his books of people wearing Mason costumes, doing a ritual for the Masons, claiming the moon for them. And it goes on and on. There's so many. But
they planted the flag for the Masons.
But what about the cheese? What about the cheese?
Yeah, made out of cheese. No, I don't think. And the part that kind of baffles me is the part that you never hear about is the Limlander had to hook up with the orbiting the capsule, to hook up to go back to Earth. The Limlander was out of fuel. I mean, he had maybe a second or two of fuel, as they say. They were out of fuel now. Even if they had the fuel in this Limlander would have had to have been rocketed up into the sky, traveling at a tremendous speed just to match the speed of the orbiter that was orbiting the moon. I mean, how did they do that? It was impossible. It was impossible to do. And these are things that people they don't think about it. They don't, all they believe is, we landed on the moon, and they don't think about how we did it. So the more research you go into, you get into your research, you can just have to Google moon conspiracies or whatever, and you can sit there for hours upon hours just looking at some of it's stupid, but most of it is these guys are researchers. They've researched this thing, and it's just incredible. Even the Van Allen belt, they had some stupid on the show I'm talking about. They had a stupid thing in a lab where they got some uranium or something, tried to duplicate what was in the belts, and they it was just so Mickey Mouse, and it basically proved that the astronauts were protected, and the capsule was lined with a special fiberglass or something. It was I was turned to show off, and this is a legit show on TV that they're trying to convince people like myself, which is growing and growing by the millions, that we went to the moon, and no matter what they do, no matter what they say, I don't believe it.
Wow.
Now that's that's another story, And going to Mars, come on, they're going to milk somebody trillions of dollars. Money's coming out of our pockets for this so-called Mars. We're going to land Mars and the men on the Mars in 10 years or something. That's the stupidest thing I ever heard.
So it's just about money, about keeping money going.
Money.
Wow. Well, that's why they say we're in a perpetual state of endless war, because it just keeps the money flowing. There's somebody at the top that's getting rich.
It's not just that. What Saul and those guys say, it's a money fight between the Air Force and the Navy too.
I guess when they're charging $850 for a toilet seat, somebody's getting rich. It's incredible. I mean the money in our we were supposed to be $22 trillion in deficit. That's crying. That's our government crying poor mouth.
Yeah,
it's stupid. It's totally stupid. It really is. And then the federal bank. That's another story to get into with the federal bank. How they control it all. The federal bank runs the country. I mean, who's the federal bank? All they do is print money, but they seem to be the heads, the leaders, the bosses, the people who rule things is the federal bank.
And everything, the whole system, it all depends on their rulings. They totally control everything. Right on.
Everything. And I love our government. Don't get me wrong. I'll have FBI guys knocking on my door tomorrow, but I don't care. Someone has to tell people what's going on here. I don't want to get on my soapbox, but it's the more research I do, I'm a researcher, basically. Of course, I investigate. I have over 1,000 UFO cases that I've investigated myself. And quite frankly, I think that, when people say, oh, yeah, they make things up, it's a hoax, and they didn't see it, and blah, blah, blah. I think when someone sees something and reports it, it's something that they've really never seen before because, frankly, we're always seeing things in the sky. I have 7 sightings myself in a close encounter at Area 51, me and my wife, back in 2006, and we were in Las Vegas, but that's another story. But it's just incredible that I feel that people that are reporting these things to MUFON and National UFO Reporting Center, or they report them to UFO Casebook with Billy Booth. It seems like a lot of these people even report them to me because of my website. I tell them because of reasons some people don't like to report these things to UFO organizations. So you're more than welcome.
I'm sorry, we're at the commercial break. I wasn't paying attention to the time. We'll be back in 5 minutes after this commercial break to see.
Radio at freedomslips.com. And we'll be right back after this message.
Wadiya will remain a dictatorship. Or be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.
Ohio Exopolitics will be on from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A. Mark Schneider will have guests on that will discuss many important topics, including the state of the world today. However, much of the show will be dedicated to the writings of Edward Albert Meyer. Let me read a short passage from one of his writings. Love is the highest principle of creation, and through it, everything exists in absolute logic. All of nature in its indescribable splendor is nothing but the love of creation, which is expressed visibly. The love of creation is everywhere, because without it, nothing at all would be able to exist. Please join Mark on Ohio Exopolitics from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern on Studio A.
It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why The Story Behind the Story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth.
Transcending time and space, let us take you to the place inside your mind where thoughts divide and mysteries unwind. Join us every Monday evening right here on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And you will catch the Fenton Perspective with our great host, Lorian Fenton. Come listen in as she shares her amazing stories from the past to present, along with all of her guest secrets to the future. That's the Fenton Perspective every Monday evening right here from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, only on Revolution Radio. Oh, and you don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Extendivite really works. Just listen to what some people have to say.
Several years ago, I was developing a very severe situation. I called it my flippy heart. It was doing not good things, and I did not want to go to a medical doctor because I just knew they would give me a cover-up pill. I didn't want to get onto that sort of thing at all. When I learned it was garlic and cayenne, and cayenne is a healer. It is a wonderful herb. I said, I think I'm onto something here. I'll tell you, I wouldn't be without it. It did wonderful things for me.
Extendivite is only $69.95 for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid. Call now. That's 1-877-928-8822 or visit heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution
right
Radio
now that I
and
have no idea what the only thing that I can think of is
You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Y'all are back live.
Okay, hello.
Okay, wait. I'm sorry, I was on mute. Aloha and welcome back to Stargate to the Cosmos. And I'm your host, Janet Lessin, with my co-host, Dr. Sasha. Alex Lessin, producer Thomas Becker, also known as a mad painter. And our guest is Kenneth Pfeifer. And before we get back to our show, we're having a very interesting show. I want to remind everybody to please go over to revolution.radio and make your donation today, because we really, really, really need your donation. So, Thomas, how did we do? Did we ever catch up at the end of the month? We're on the second day of the new month, and
no, ma'am.
How are we doing?
We're still behind by over $400.
Oh, my goodness. That's the first. Please donate. Please. Yeah, I've been with you guys since 2012, and I've never seen this. So please reach into your pockets and make a donation, because we got bills to pay to keep on air. Okay, so on the break we were talking about your site, Ken, but I want to go back to Sasha before we go back to you.
Yeah.
Sweetheart, you're back?
Yes, can you
Sasha,
hear me?
You there?
Yes.
Okay, any comments or questions?
Well, it's audience, we're talking to Ken, and he's got a method that you or anybody can do with just, you don't have to have a huge telescope or anything, but you can scrutinize through direct camera action of your own, find out what is really going on in specific areas that you want to look at in Mars. And so I want to just not just look at the data, but look at the method, because it's there. It means that we don't have to depend on the government to sort for us, but we can actually look at some of the pictures ourselves.
And then, Ken, also I want you to talk about your websites and the different things that are on there. So back to you, Ken, and
Well, my main website is worldufophotos.org. I got over 12,000. I'm going to call them alien craft. I'm not even going to call them UFOs. I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence. One of my other main websites is worldufophotosannews.org. I have over 2,800 case files. That's worldufophotosannews.org. 2,800 case files from all over the world. And also KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com. I have a ton of galleries on there, Moon, Mars, and I was also talking about my strange gallery on worldufophotos.org. I got a couple thousand strange photos on that gallery that, things from the earth, things, even more UFOs in the sky or alien craft in the sky. There's some really weird stuff on that strange gallery. So check it out. My fourth gallery, which I'm most proud of, I'm the organizer and the founder of HeavensRangers.net. HeavensRangers.net. Basically, what this is, it's a Christian organization. What our main purpose is we want to lobby the Vatican. We want to get into the Vatican's library because that's where all the truth is, and we need to do that. I think people need to know the truth about battle religions, and quite frankly, I feel there's a ton of things in there, the Vatican Library, that has to do with UFOs, alien craft, entities, the whole 9 yards, and they won't let anybody in there. I mean, you have to have special permission to look at one scroll, and it's there's millions of papers and scrolls and anything that you can think of in the Vatican Library, and we need to see it. So that's the purpose of my HeavensRangers.net. So I'm very proud of that website.
What are you going to do when you run into Homo capensis with their big hats that they hide under the big heads they hide under the big hats? That's what we had one whistleblower say. There's Homo capensis, the large-headed. That's why you can't get into the inner sanctuaries because that's why they have those large hats. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting hypothesis.
I guess.
Taking off the Pope's hat,
Yeah, I've been in Rome. I was in Rome in '68, so I saw the Pope say mass at the Vatican there and all. That was pretty exciting. I was a junior in high school when I went there for 2 weeks, but that's we got to get into the Vatican Library to see what's going on. There's too much stuff there that we need to know.
So I'm on your worldufophotos.org, and you said you have some strange...
Here's a strange gallery there. Go to galleries and then scroll down. Should be towards the bottom of the strange gallery there with a lot of strange stuff on it.
I like looking at strange stuff because I'm strange. Okay, strange stuff, yes.
I've been called strange myself, so don't feel bad.
Oh, I like it. I don't want to be normal. Normal's boring. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that's right. No fun.
This is wonderful. Oh, my goodness. And how do you get all these photos? Do people send them to you, or?
Yeah, it's gotten to the point where, everybody, I get things from all over the world. A lot of them I get on the web. A lot of websites, what I do is their websites they're updated to my computer, which you can do anywhere really. And there's just things that I've found on there. As a matter of fact, the number one, I'm on my website right now. And what the hell is that? National Geographic photographer. It says here I saw a hyper-advanced, let me go back here, hyper-advanced aquatic alien creature in the ocean. And it's things like that is what's on here. And it's, some of it is explainable and some of it isn't. And most of these photos, as you can see, they're up close. Like the second photo is strange. That was June 11th, 2019 from Slade, Kentucky. This is a MUFON photo. And these rocks are very far away. Now, what I do is I get these photos and I enlarge them. I enhance them. Sometimes I need to sharpen them, make them a little bit sharper. But these it looks like somebody just took some rocks in a hand and threw them up in the air. But you don't realize that these rocks are a couple hundred feet in the air and they're far off. They're at a much further distance than what you think. So most of these photos are like that. There's just some strange things on there that I can't explain. I really don't. So I just put them on there and let people make their own decision as to what they could be.
Now, what's this? Like a face. The next photo after that is like a face hovering in the. What is it, in the forest, or is that?
Oh, was that the third photo in?
Yeah, I think it's the third photo.
I have no idea what that is. I don't know. It could be a cluster of balloons. I don't know, but then again, people who report these things, there's a story behind every one of these photos. Like this thing did a 90-degree turn and took off into the sky and disappeared through the clouds type of a thing. And, this was from outdoor France. This is a MUFON case here. And these are, people think, it's a bunch of balloons, but they don't know the whole story behind the photo. And that's what I try to do at my World UFO Photos and News.org. I try to actually put the actual case file with the photo. Some photos are CGI, some photos aren't real, and I make a statement about that because I don't want people to think that I'm making this stuff up. Right. But a lot of photos are real, and I'd like to put their case file there, and these are the actual case files that people reported. And I also put on the website, where I got the information. So I'm always including the source with my information. So, it just seems to make things more credible if you do that. So that's what I've been doing.
Now the next one is this humanoid guy that's very strange. And then Sasha,
we don't. That's again, what the heck is it? That was in Clayville, New York. That's a MUFON case, and of course we're investigating that, and I'm not, but our New York investigators are apparently they're going to investigate it and hopefully find out what the truth is about it. So we just don't know what it is.
Go ahead, Sash.
I couldn't hear anything you were saying, Ken, because it was just going blip, 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 here, and so. But one thing that I'm kind of keen on is there some kind of correlation between alien craft activity and crop circles?
Yes, I think there are. As a matter of fact, I've been to a few conventions, UFO conventions, and we had one woman there, I forget her name, she's very knowledgeable about crop circles, and basically, to make a long story short, these crop circles are created, I feel they're created by some kind of a microwave type of an energy, because in order for these crop stalks to be bent but not broken, it takes a couple thousand degrees heat in order to do that, and we basically came to the conclusion that whatever is making these things, they're doing it with some kind of we don't know how they're doing it, and we don't know the technology behind it, but it would seem to be some kind of a microwave type of a energy that's the only explanation we have in our today's technology, but who knows about what these aliens have and the technology they have. So it's only guessing games basically.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I think I think a lot of them are real. I think some of them are man-made. But I think a lot of them are the real deal, and that's one thing that I really haven't gotten into with the crop circles. I have enough on my plate just with the alien craft photos and stories and case files. But the crop circles, that's really something good to research and to get into if you're interested.
Yeah, well, the thing is that all these phenomena that are ordinarily considered different kinds of stuff are somehow really related. I call it the other sphere.
There's stuff beyond what we're used to. And that's the cutting edge of our consciousness. The more we can understand this stuff, the broader our understanding is, And,
that's right.
And so what MUFON and individuals are doing by observing directly is they're skipping all this interpretation, which is just government manipulation to take more money from people. A function of government is theft.
Yeah, no, that's I can't argue that point with you. That's for sure. It's don't get me started on the government. I'm a Desert Storm veteran myself. I've been in the military approximately a total about 15 years. I love our military and our government and all that, but a lot of it kind of makes me mad because it's a shame that our presidents only get a 4-year term, but the senators and the congressmen, a lot of these people, they've been in office for 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
And they haven't done anything. I mean, why are we still having problems with this and still having problems with that and still having problems with whatever you want to think about? And these people have been in a senator or in Congress for 30 years and they've done nothing.
Yeah.
So that's another story for another time, I guess.
But I do want to ask you, because you're a vet, you probably got the inside story about two things that really have bugged me. One is when President Carter sent the team to try to rescue the hostages in Iran. And it was that our very best people, and what the heck happened, and were they sold out? What did you hear?
Yeah, it was a circus. No, I really don't know the story behind that one, but it was they did a very bad job on that deal. That's for sure. It's kind of hard to believe, with our SEAL teams and everything else. We have some pretty talented people out there that like our SEAL teams and our Rangers and special ops people out there that are very talented in killing. It's what they do, and how they could mess something up like that is it's kind of beyond comprehension. It really is.
Yeah, okay, and then the other thing, I guess, is about Desert Storm itself, because you already won, and then you let Saddam Hussein's army get away, and that was always a mystery to me. What was that all about?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I joined the Air Force Reserve in March, and 6 months later, my squadron was activated, and I feel that we should have went the whole way. We were there, we basically had them defeated, and why we didn't take the next step and do what we did in 2001, 2002. I don't know. I really don't. My son was he was the Stryker. My son, he was with the Air Force. He joined the Air Force, and he was security forces, which basically what he did at F.E. Warren Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He was a missile cop. They would go out to the missile silos in the 3-state area, just to make sure that they were okay and no one was tampering. Sometimes it did get alerts that someone is inside the fence there, one of the missile silos. That was their job to go out there and find out what was going on. But since he had weapons training, he was basically taken by the Army. He was in the Big Red One there, the 1st Infantry Division with the Army. And they sent him to Mosul, Iraq for 8 months. He was a 50 cal gunner on convoys, and he saw a lot of action. I know that for sure. And thank God he got through all that and got home. And he's fine. I'm very proud of him. He served 6 years in the Air Force, and who knows? It's a shame that these boys are sent over to fight a war when 9 times out of 10 it's all political.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to hear it from a vet, someone who's the inside. Thank you.
Yeah, now World War II is a different story. Well, then again, maybe it wasn't a different story, but the Japanese attacked us at Pearl Harbor, and everybody said we're going to get them back, and that was a reason. That was a reason to go to war. But there's some controversy about all that stuff too. But
the story was that FDR, Secretary of the Navy, said Yamamoto is coming with the Japanese fleet. He's heading directly for Pearl Harbor. I want to put the fleet in a defensive position. And Roosevelt said, no, we need plenty of casualties, because if we declare war on Japan, Germany will declare war on us, and we can save England before it's too late. I made a deal with Churchill.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard
yeah. That's and the stupidest thing that Germany did was declare war on the United States. I mean, Hitler, he turned it into be a real nut. But even 9/11. Don't get me started on 9/11 with the towers in New York and the Pentagon. I think that was an inside job. Building 7 proved all that. When that crashed to the ground, it had nothing to do with the planes crashing into it. And then I remember when the videos first came out with the Pentagon. They claimed they had no photo, which was a lot of crap. They had no videos of what crashed into the Pentagon. But when the videos first came out, I noticed there was a tip of something that was on the right-hand side of the frames of the videos that they were showing. And it was the tip of something. I don't know if it was the tip of a plane. I don't know if it was the tip of the missile. But the funny part is, a couple of weeks later, you never saw that tip anymore. They kind of erased that. So I quite frankly, I think it was an inside job. I think our government, I think they knew that something was going on when the planes were hijacked. But quite frankly, I'm hoping that they, I think they just wanted to let it pan out. Let's see what happens. Type of an attitude is what I'm hoping, or our government may have been looking at it that way. But if they would have known that our 2 towers would have come down and all these people would have died in the Pentagon, then I'm hoping and praying that our government would have stopped it somehow. But I think they had a pretty good inkling that something bad was going to happen, and I think they just wanted to play it out and see what happened. So that's another story.
Wow. But in these days, in a way, the future of everything may depend on the Joint Chiefs and how sane they are and how willing they are to protect us.
Yeah, it's scary. It's really, and it all boils down to money. Money.
Yeah.
And aren't there any white hats anymore? Aren't there people that just care about people?
It's a crazy world. It's getting crazier. It really is.
Yeah.
Don't get me started on politics. That's another story.
Yeah, look, we can't go there because it's too volatile. But
yeah,
there's lots of people
crazy.
doing it. Yeah. So you're over there in this hotbed of UFOs. What do you do when you get a call? What's your procedure?
Well, basically, of course, what we do is we get notified that a case has been case has been submitted to MUFON, and of course, the different states. Like myself, I get all the cases that come into New Jersey, and of course, Vermont and Rhode Island. I get all the cases on my computer, and But from there, what I do is I assign the cases to, my investigators, and I take a case or two, something that's close by to me. So I try to give the cases to the investigators that are close by to the witness, and of course all the abduction cases I give to a gentleman, chief of police up there in North Jersey. He's a licensed hypnotist, so I've been giving him all my abduction cases, which we get maybe about one a month. And, from there, we basically, I would say that 95% of our cases are done over the phone. This is all volunteer. MUFON doesn't pay us a penny.
Right.
This is something that we have a passion for, and we want to help. We want to find out the truth, and it's going to be kind of silly to drive 40 miles so a witness can point up into the sky and say, yeah, that's where it was. You know, it's kind of foolish to do that. But we call them, we email them, we try to get we try to do an interview over the phone, and there's a very detailed form that every witness has to fill out. Shape, size, color, it's very, very detailed form that they do. I would say 99% of all of our witnesses fill this form out. And all we have to do is, kind of look over the form and ask any questions we want. If we want to verify something, we ask them, and we try to get a feel as to, who they are and what they've seen. And 9 times out of 10, all these witnesses say, well, this is not my first sighting. Back in 56, blah, and I tell them, please don't tell me your sighting, because I don't want to contaminate the sighting we're working on right now. I says, if you feel it's worthwhile and you can remember a lot of the details, I says, report it to MUFON. I says, I'll probably be calling you next week. So we get them on the phone and we walk them through the steps here and ask them questions. We ask them to relive what they saw, and so we can cross-reference anything that's different. And any photos we get from them, I usually enhance them, enlarge them, because, sometimes people see something in the sky and, but it wasn't an alien craft or it wasn't a UFO. It was something explainable. And normally by what I do when I get the photos, I enlarge them. Thank God today's telephone cameras, they're pretty good. I mean, they have over 12 or more megapixels, which means 12 million pixels per photo, and you can take a white dot on a photo and enlarge it to something that you say to yourself, what the hell is that? Type of a thing. So, today's, we're getting a lot more photos than we used to, because, of course, everybody's walking around with these cameras in their pockets, and they're able to take these photos. So, that's what we do. We after we get all the information and talk to the witness, we start making our phone calls or start doing our web searches to see if there were other sightings that day, or even in the United States, because these alien craft can fly from New Jersey to California in a blink of an eye. So, we try to go through and see what other sightings were done that day, and proximities and where they were, what the times were, and we do a lot of research. Phone calls, well, you're wasting your time trying to call the military. They won't talk to you. You're wasting your time trying to call the airports, because they won't talk to you. Unless you have a brother-in-law that's a air traffic controller, then that's a different story. You can get some kind of maybe radar blips or radar signatures from them, but that's very, very rare. So even the police departments, they I had a sighting in New London, Connecticut a few years ago. As a matter of fact, Bigelow, I'm sure you heard his name. Yeah. He's a billionaire from Las Vegas who is into the space thing here, and he's basically, he joined with MUFON. I would say maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, where he was funding us going to different places. So they sent me to New London, Connecticut for 3 days, and I interviewed a witness out there, a credible witness. He was a manager at a business, and then he saw this humongous triangle fly over his apartment building one night. He could make it out, and of course I went out there and did an investigation. Of course, in New London, Connecticut, that's right across the little bay there from Groton, Connecticut, which has a control tower. They also have the General Dynamics Corporation, who makes the nuclear submarines. They have these nuclear submarines right there in Groton, Connecticut, or New London, Connecticut. Plus, they have the Coast Guard Academy there in New London, Connecticut, and they have a big power plant that sits on the bay. So this would be a prime location for any kind of a UFO to fly over, an alien craft, I'll say. And I did a couple of days of investigation, and it was really weird. Everybody just didn't want to talk about it. Even the police department. I went to talk to the chief of police at the police department, and says, "What do you guys do if you get any UFO calls?" And UFO calls. We don't get any of them things. And Then I even went to the local newspaper. I mean, I had a story that this credible witness saw a humongous triangle fly over, his building, and they didn't even want. I couldn't even get up to talk to the editor upstairs there to talk to them. I went over there to try to maybe get some information. Have they had any stories on UFO sightings, whatever, and they didn't even want to talk to me. Then I went to the control tower in Groton, Connecticut there, and I stood out at the gate, and they wouldn't even let me in the gate to get into the control tower. So I don't know, it was very strange. There was a lot of hush-hush, a lot of, we don't want to talk to this guy type of an attitude, the atmosphere that's how I walked away from the whole thing. So, quite frankly, I classified the case as unknown and turned in the information. And the reason why Bigelow got into this is because he wanted to be the first one there. If there was a crash, if there was something incredible, he wanted to, I guess, have the power and have the legal authority to get into it. If there was a crash saucer that we come across or whatever, he wanted to be the first one on the scene. And I understand that what he wanted to do and what we do today is we reverse engineer these. There's hundreds of even documented crashes. Roswell's that was a flash in the pan. Roswell was, and there's been hundreds of documented crash sites and crashes of these things, and we're trying to reverse engineer them and trying to, quite frankly, I think the transistor radio came out in 1960, and my theory is that this is part of the reverse engineering that we did on the evidence we had, the parts we had from this alien technology.
Yeah, that's what Phil Corso's book said, that he got the transistors. He said that was alien technology. He thought it was actually alive. It was, when the first I remember I had a transistor radio. I was like 10 years old, 10, 11, this was 1960, and right. My parents bought me a transistor radio, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever, a lot of this stuff is from, I think, the reverse engineering. Like I said, I had a close encounter, me and my wife, at Area 51 back in end of May of 2006. We were celebrating our 30th wedding anniversary, and we stayed at the Luxor for 7 days. And, of course, I just started with MUFON, so I'm all excited about, I want to go to Area 51. So we had a couple of days to kill, and talked my wife into it. She was excited about going, so we rented a car, and Area 51 was only about maybe an hour and a half from Las Vegas. It was very easy to get there. I stopped at the little Alien, that's the tourist trap there, a restaurant where they sell all kind of alien stuff, and it's right there on the outskirts of Area 51, and we stopped there and had a bite to eat, and I was talking to the owner, and I was looking for the back gates of Area 51 because I knew the front gates. There was a lot of talk about the front gates of Area 51. You get harassed, if you venture too close, they give you a lot of trouble, and I wanted to stay away from that. So me and my wife, we talked to the owner, and I said, I know the back gate of Area 51's around here somewhere. She says, yeah, it's about a quarter mile down the road. So we jumped in the car and headed on down there, and we found this gravel road. It was a very, very large, very, very wide road. It was graveled. It was, it was done very well. Apparently, a lot of buses, trucks, or whatever used this road, plus cars. So here I come to find out that the extraterrestrial highway, which was right there at the beginning of the road, it was 10 miles back to the back gate, and all we can really see was just desert, and we could see mountains in the distance, and we were about 5 miles into our trip, and all of a sudden we had an ear-shattering noise. It was a very high-pitched, wavering noise. It was ear-shattering, and this thing hit our car. And, of course, the first thing we did is we dove down in the seats because I had no idea what was going on. So, after a minute or two, we started to peek up, up out the windows there. And I get out of the car and looked around, and we couldn't find anything. We couldn't. There was a couple F-16s that were basically a couple thousand feet up, but,
that was not Ben. That was like during the day. We can see them flying over, once in a while. But I says, holy hell, what was that? And says, well, we're halfway there. So we decided to venture on, which we did. We got to the back gates of Area 51, and of course it's fenced in, and they had some kind of a building, one level building there where the guards and everything was. And of course we took photos of all the signs that says don't take photos, just to prove I was there. But and then we headed on out. We headed on back, and that was. My wife said that was worth every minute of it, and she's not she's not very she doesn't get into that stuff too much. She believes in UFOs, of course, with the one she saw in Woodstown, but that was pretty cool, and I have no idea to this day what it was.
She sounds like a good sport.
Well, yeah. It was incredible. We went, like I said, we went to our, it was for our 30th wedding anniversary. We got remarried again at the top of the stratosphere. Had a good time and all that, but she said that was worth the whole, forget about the wedding. That was worth the whole trip. So I got a kick out of that, but that was pretty cool. I'll go back again. If I might get back to Vegas, I'll be out there. I'll be out there quite a few times, as a matter of fact.
That sounds like a good plan. We've never gone over there. I guess we should. We go to Vegas every year or so. That'd be a good trip to take. What do you think of the TR-3B? People talk about that reverse engineered craft. There's 3 triangular crafts. One's in TR-6, I think, is like in between. TR-3B's like
yeah, I think they're out there. I haven't seen any, and I haven't seen. I've seen some photos, but I don't really know if I'm looking at the real thing or not. But no, I think there's some advanced craft out there, but I don't think they're advanced to the point where they can fly like flying saucers type thing. But no, I'm sure they do account for. I'm sure some sightings. People see this, even the B-2 bomber. I saw the B-2 bomber down at Andrews Air Force Base years ago, and that was pretty weird to see. They had a flyover, and even looking at that, it was weird to see in the sky, and I could see how some people would be reporting some of these experimental aircraft that the government is probably funding right now. So I think they exist, but I haven't seen one. I really don't think I've seen an original, genuine photo of some of these advanced aircraft.
How do you? Is there any way you can tell a UFO that's extraterrestrial from one that might be reverse engineered by humans?
I don't know. I really don't know if we're to that point where we were able to reverse engineer a ship like a flying saucer that these aliens are flying around. I really couldn't tell you. I'm not really sure. I'm hoping we might have the technology to do it, but if we have done it or are doing it, that's your guess is as good as mine. I really don't know.
What does MUFON do with whistleblowers? Like, do they ever talk to people that are doing their deathbed confessions? They want to get this off their chest before they go to the grave?
Well, that would be part of an investigation. Yeah, we've had a couple. I haven't investigated. I haven't had any whistleblowers in New Jersey or Vermont, Rhode Island, but yeah, I'm sure MUFON has. They've investigated a couple of cases like that where people were, turned in they turned in a UFO sighting, and then it turns into, something more. They basically let everything off their chest, and they tell a fantastic story, and quite frankly, I think a lot of these stories are real.
Right. I get a lot of whistleblowers, people telling us what's going on, so, I listen to them, right, and pay attention.
Yeah.
Because they've got very interesting stories and they seem to be credible. So that's what the TR-3B and the 6 and the 11 apparently are. The Phoenix Lights, I had one whistleblower said that that's ours. It is alien, but it's reverse engineered, but with their cooperation. So there's a lot of whistleblowers that are saying that they're working in conjunction with some of the main extraterrestrial species. I just wonder how MUFON handles stuff like that. But we listen to people, and if you don't listen, you don't get the story, right?
Well, basically, when I approach, and I've been preaching this for years, that we try to believe the witness. We have more to gain by believing the witness than by. It's easy to say that this is a hoax or this couldn't be real and this is fake, and you could be throwing away some really genuine, real information. And that's some of the problem that MUFON used to have in the past. It's a lot of these people that become investigators, they pass a test, and they basically MUFON, they just want to make sure you're not an idiot. They make you an investigator, and then they, but investigators join MUFON, like New Jersey. I've had many investigators many people become investigators, but they don't even make one investigation. They get into it, and either they're afraid to do it, or they feel it's not their cup of tea, or they maybe were expecting something different. Like I tell people, 95% of our cases are done on the phone, but of course there's been many cases that if it's close by to you and it's a 10-minute drive, then what the heck, let's get in the car and go on over there and talk to the witness, or if it's a very good sighting, something where maybe something may have possibly landed, or a sighting where there are many witnesses that is close by to you, then yeah, sure, get in your car, go over, take your notebook, and get all the information you can, type of a thing. But like I said, MUFON doesn't pay us, and so we normally don't do that unless it's a high profile case. I had a case in Alloway Township, South Jersey. Now Alloway Township is near Bridgeton, New Jersey, which is very rural. A lot of horse farms, cow farms, and this guy was he was a retired engineer. He lived in Clayton, New Jersey, and he went down to Alloway Township, bought a nice house with about an acre of ground, and of course he was surrounded with horse farms down there. Like myself, back of my house, I have horse farms, and the guy's raising llama behind my house here in South Jersey. So he went down there. He was he was amateur astrologist, and he had his observatory, the whole 9 yards. He was out back at around midnight one night, and he said that some humongous alien craft came over his observatory, and it sizzled. It sounded like frying bacon. And it was so close to him, it was, I would say, approximately about 100 feet over his head, which is only 10 stories. And he was able to make out a lot of details of this triangle's ship. And he, as a matter of fact, he noticed that there was a large box, like a dumpster-type box, black box that was hanging from under this craft. And the only conclusion we can come up with is possibly they were looking for horses, they were looking for cattle, taking them up with them, and the detail was incredible. As a matter of fact, a lot of the equipment he had was fried. It fried his equipment. He was scared. I mean, I had to talk him off the ledge when I went down there to investigate the case and talk to him, and he was just scared to go out back anymore. And finally, he went out back. This was about 9 months later. He finally got the nerve to go out back, and had a couple cameras with him just in case. You're always seeing these alien craft, and no one has a camera in their hand, but now he did. And he took some of the incredible nighttime photos. As a matter of fact, I sent you one of the photos. It's on one of my banners. I don't know if it looks like two light bars. It's on one of the banners that I sent you. I think it was World UFO Photos and News.org. It could have been that banner. This is the photos that he took of this. Like I said, this is 9 months later, and then he's at his observatory now and looking at the stars and looking around, and he sees this thing in the distance. And he went outside there, and he just took some incredible shots. Basically, this thing rotated on its axis, so he was able to get a couple different images of this alien craft. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's what this thing must have been. His location now, this thing was near high power lines, and the high power lines ran out to Salem Nuclear Plant, which sits on the Delaware River. That's approximately maybe about 20 miles from his location, which is nothing, that's close by. And he got some incredible shots of this thing, and it just it's the same story. It just kind of very slowly, no noise, and just flew off into the distance type of a thing. And I have this on my World UFO Photos and News.org. What you have to do is search Alloway Township. Just put Alloway Township in there, and you'll see that that whole thing will come up. The photos. As a matter of fact, he had a rendering of the first triangle that he made himself that I put on the website. So that's the most incredible sighting that I've ever had. And like I said, this is the type of sighting that we wanted to. I had to go out and see this guy. But the other sightings are basically just people seeing things in the sky, and they're zipping around here and there and making 90-degree turns, and these are things that could be verified over the phone, and that's normally what we do, and unless there are some photos attached, and we feel we want to sit down with the witness and really hash it out and talk to him, then that's a different story. It gives us more of an incentive to get in our car and travel a little bit to see our witness.
But have lost. I was looking at your site. What is that called again? Real UFO?
Yeah, it's World UFO Photos and News.org.
UFO Photos and?
Yeah, and news.org.
Okay, I'm going to look that up.
I got over 2,800 case files on there, and
oh, there it is.
Yeah, I get them from all over the world every day. Every day I post. As a matter of fact, when I get off the phone with you, I have to post another sighting that I try to post the most important sighting of the day. And there's a lot of thousands of sightings that are from the 50s that I'm researching and finding out that a lot of these things are starting to come to the surface and they're starting to be published. So all I'm doing is publishing the best articles from other UFO sites and also from MUFON. I get most of my most of my case file sites from MUFON, which I publish. So every day I put a new one on there. So there's a ton of stuff on there.
I'm looking at the site, and I just scrolled down under the map of England, I guess, and there's this April 22nd, 1976 saucer craft, and it's just classic. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Now at the bottom of the statement from the witness, I usually put on there, note this is a CGI image, but if I don't put that, then it's the real thing. It's the real image.
Wow. So this was a police officer?
Yeah.
Wheeler, Tuttle Hill in Elmwood, 60 miles from Mississippi River. And it looks like the craft from the day the Earth stood still. All right, it's like it's gonna land.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of photos, like I said, from the past that people are starting to, submit. As a matter of fact, I have a photo from around 1956 from Ocean City, New Jersey. It's a shoebox photo that I got from my mom and dad's house. And I was over there one day, and I was looking, through the shoebox photo, and I saw a photo comes up of my mother and father and my aunt and uncle standing on the beach. The shot is out towards the ocean, and there's a lot of kids. I was probably one of the kids in the photo and in the surf, and my mother apparently was taking the photo itself, and it's just an incredible image of a UFO.
Wow.
And no one ever saw it. it's just incredible that
picked it up.
Huh?
So you're saying the camera picked it up, but the people didn't see it?
Oh yeah, the camera picked it up, and this is an old an old photo from like I said, '56, the old brownie with the scrolled edges on the photo, on the paper itself, and of course I had the bunkers say, well, it's the solution that they use to process. A lot of this. It's all these debunkers trying to debunk something great, and this is just a tremendous. I'll have to send it to you. I'll have to get your email address. Well, I have your email address. I'll send this photo to you. But
yeah,
this is one that this is a shoebox photo that you'd be surprised at what you can find. Even in the old photos, there's stuff there that nobody really seems to look in the sky. They're just looking at the person that was photographed.
Can I report something I saw in the 50s and 60s?
You're breaking up right now.
Go to the state director time. Okay, I had some sightings as a child that were very detailed, and
now you did yourself.
Back to Pennsylvania, or do I tell the person where I'm living now? Do I go where they happened, or to the location?
Well, you want to report them?
I would like to report them for a historical record.
Oh, yeah. No, you have to. Go to MUFON, MUFON.com, www.MUFON.com, and there's a icon there that, report a sighting. So, sit down with a glass of wine and get all the facts you can think about in your head. And there's, like I said, there's a detailed form that they want you to fill out, as to approximate times and weather conditions and anything that you could think of, and they want a statement from you. And if the sighting was in Pennsylvania, then hopefully an investigator from MUFON, Pennsylvania, will give you a call.
That'd be great. So I'd like to encourage people that had sightings years ago to go on to MUFON.com and record them now. It's never too late to record your sighting.
No, you have to. Yeah, we what we do is, MUFON. Of course, we investigate these sightings, but what happens then? And basically, we are trying to archive all of these UFO cases. We want to have a place that we can go to, or anyone can go to look at these sightings. As a matter of fact, if you join MUFON.com. You'll also get the journal, the MUFON journal. It's it's cheap to join. I forget how much it is, but it's very cheap. Join MUFON.net puts you on the inside, the inside of MUFON, and they send you a lot of great information. They send you the journal. It's a paperback type of a journal, like a magazine journal, and they have some incredible stuff in there. And just tell them Ken Pfeifer sent you. And maybe they'll give you a discount or something. But, go to MUFON.com, and you got to join. There's some great stuff there.
Excellent. Now, will they tell you if somebody else reported the same thing at the same time? Like I can put it down to August of 1966, but maybe somebody else saw the same thing. Do they correlate the sightings? And they'll say, hey, there were 10 people that saw the same thing back in 1966?
That's part of our investigation, yeah. That's part of what we do. That's why we have to get these things documented, because, who's to say there isn't a half dozen or a dozen people out there who did see exactly what you saw, and we need their statements. So, yeah, that's part of our investigation is checking out, that month, if anything like what you saw was seen by the witnesses. And many cases, we do get cases where people saw the same thing. As a matter of fact, on World UFO Photos and news.org, I have many articles on there where people did see the same thing, but it may have been a different time, but it was the same town or maybe a town over where they saw the exact same thing that the first witness saw. So this is a way to collaborate, a witness story, and it makes it even more credible.
That's wonderful. Okay, we're on our last 2 minutes. What about the 50th anniversary of MUFON this year in Vegas, in LA? Are you going?
No. The reason why is I'm a little mad at MUFON, I guess you can say. I've been to quite a few conferences, and I've also been to a couple conferences where I have done a photo presentation of these photos that I have. I've done a photo presentation. Of course, I drag out the best photos I have, the best real alien craft photos I have with case files, people's testimony, and then I present them to who's ever in the crowd. But MUFON, for some reason, never does this.
Yeah.
And that's strange to me. It's like going to the Audubon Society annual convention and not having any photos of birds.
Yes. Okay, last minute. Tell us your websites again.
Yeah, so worldufophotos.org. That's 12,000 photos. My other website, worldufophotosannews.org. That's 2,800 case files. And KenPfeiferDiscoveries.com. There's a ton of stuff there.
Thank you so much, Ken. Awesome show. Thank you.
That's been a pleasure. It's been an honor to be on your show. Thank you very much.
Blessings to you. Aloha.
Okay.
Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right back after this message.
Narco-syndicalist commune. We take it in turns to act as a sort of executive officer for the week. Yes. But all the decisions of that officer have to be ratified at a special bi-weekly meeting. Yes, I see. By a civil majority in the case of purely internal affairs. Be quiet. But by a 2/3 majority in the case of more... Be quiet. I order you to be quiet. Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look. It's just a flesh wound.
I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity.
I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live Monday through Friday, 1 a.m. till 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Oscar's freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
The body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. The heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting the danger, unafraid, right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio.
The original machine had a base plate of prefamulated amulite, surmounted by a malleable logarithmic casing, in such a way that the two spurving bearings were in a direct line with the